Welcome to the Brain Gain Youngstown Leadership Series podcast. Each week, we'll learn from leaders who are driving change and making an impact. Now here's your host, the CEO of the Youngstown Publishing Company, Jeff Leo Herrmann.
Mike, thanks for joining us today. Really thrilled to have you on the Brain Gain Youngstown Leadership podcast.
Well, thanks for the invitation. I'm happy to talk to you.
Yeah, one thing I noticed, you have recovery in your job description. So, what does I feel like we're jumping in, but that just kind of caught my attention. Recovery.
Well, Eastgate received some funding from the Economic Development Administration to accelerate the pandemic economic recovery.
Right.
To that end, I was asked to join Eastgate in a consultative role to assist in economic development projects, to get people back to work on infrastructure challenges which the region faces, so that we could accelerate our recovery. At one time, obviously, we were experiencing significant unemployment and economic challenges, and hopefully we're able to eradicate those through some of my efforts.
I love it, eradicate. That's a great word. That's a powerful word. And it's funny, I'm sitting here, we have a standard set of questions we ask all our guests on the podcast. But with you, I feel like I could take this in so many different directions. I mean, and we've known each other, right? I get to
we sure have. This will be a fun conversation.
I think one thing I want to know, and I'm sure you get this question, what is the difference between Eastgate and Eastern Gateway Community College? Because I can literally, outside of our window, there's Eastern Gateway Community College, and I can see Art Daly's office from right here.
Absolutely.
And then I can bend my head this way, and there's the Eastgate office.
They're similar in name, but quite different. Obviously, the Eastern Gateway Community College is providing workforce development and educational opportunities, and they do a great job with that with their student body.
Absolutely.
Eastgate is a regional council of governments and serves Ashtabula, Trumbull, and Mahoning counties, largely dealing with transportation infrastructure. And so rather than have disparate or disconnected projects from township to township or community to community, Eastgate is able to provide a holistic analysis and assessment of a highway that starts out in 3 lanes and ends in 3 lanes, right? Mm-hmm. Or that there's connectivity and there's a strategic approach towards infrastructure. Eastgate has traditionally been involved in ground transportation, but it's exciting to see that they've branched out, and now they're leaders of this Mahoning River restoration, the removal of the dams to make the Mahoning River navigable and free-flowing again. Communities that have a river, so often you see housing developments and entertainment districts by that river, also recreation. And if we could make the Mahoning River free-flowing, and the more we do that, we could make that much more attractive for our community. Now, in addition to that, now Eastgate has taken on yet another infrastructure challenge of broadband.
Oh,
and we were working on a broadband study that was commissioned in January. We are just about to receive the final results of that, and we'll have a blueprint. And as this federal money is made available for broadband in the infrastructure bill, this Eastgate region is going to be well prepared to pursue funding for infrastructure enhancements and to increase our capabilities throughout the lake to river region.
Absolutely. Wow, is that 5G related?
We use the general term broadband. It's 5G today. It could be something else tomorrow, but fiber-based or NG, some high level of high-speed coverage for the entire region.
Okay, and so that basically raises the bar, puts everyone on a level playing field, because we've seen the gaps.
We think so, absolutely. What we've learned is that there are some areas in our region that have no broadband, many areas that have slow broadband, other areas that have costly broadband or too costly for this consumer. And so it becomes a question of accessibility and affordability. Beyond that, it's a question of adoption. So how do people learn to use broadband to their economic advantage, to their health advantage, to their educational advantage? And that would be a part of our tripod, basically, of strategies to have the accessibility, make it affordable, and then have the programming that benefits our citizens, whether that be workforce development, curriculum, telehealth, any number of other value-added services through broadband.
Well, what we've learned over the past year with the pandemic is that technology infrastructure is key to literally maintaining communications and services and education.
Well, absolutely. You know, we're going to have a permanent work-at-home group now, and those folks are in need of quality broadband services in order to be fully productive. And we would imagine that education and learning is going to be hybrid models between in class and some online. Certainly adult education can embrace online classes as well. So it's here to stay, and we want to be on the forefront as this infrastructure funding becomes available to really place the Mahoning Valley at the forefront of broadband availability for all of our residents.
That's fantastic. And we'll dig into these other investment opportunities later on in our conversation. But it's funny, thinking back, like let's zoom back to your childhood. You know, did you ever think at the time when you were, a child growing up, you would be involved in such important initiatives? You certainly can't predict it. I was born in Youngstown and raised in Youngstown, and so I love Northeast Ohio, and I love this city, and currently I live in Howland, and equally love Warren. I've always aspired leadership, and I've tried to be a leader in a number of organizations, so that was an early motivation for me in terms of a career aspiration or an educational pathway. Didn't realize I'd be doing this, but who does? Who does imagine what their life would be? But I've been blessed. I enjoy what I do so very much. That's fantastic. Were there anyone you looked up to as a leader? Say when you were young, were you fascinated by sports heroes, football stars, or academics, or maybe family?
Well, it was in the '60s, it was the Cleveland Browns, and I was always a Cleveland Indians fan. So whether it be Jim Brown as a running back or Tito Francona, Sr., who played for the Indians, but I was a big Indians and Browns fan from a sports standpoint. Politically, I remember John F. Kennedy. In my youth was our hero, and locally, just down the street at St. Cyril Methodius School, it was Father Bill Yerko, Sister Paulette, my teachers, my priests and my nuns, who were very influential to me. Outside of Mom and Dad, those folks were they've had a huge impact on my life.
Yeah, that's come up time and time again, the role of educators. So we recently spoke to Mark Melandro. He's now at the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, spoke to Gary Gladys. They're both individuals doing big things in the world. And all of us, we're all Brookfield kids, right? We all remember Mr. DeJulia, seventh grade math teacher. Huge impact on us, and who knew, right?
I would agree. I attended Carter Mooney after St. Cyril's, and Mr. Markovich, Mr. Petruska in physics and in math. I ended up being a math major at Dayton. Dr. Ken Shrout was my advisor. My educators have played a tremendous role in my personal life formation and my values.
Right. Yeah, and that's good to know, and it's interesting to see how proactive especially the school districts and the educational service centers are at career development and focused on careers. Because,
absolutely.
It's one thing to learn and you go through the paces, and my 12-year-old, I'll quote him, "I hate school." I think he's bored, and that's really, he's bright, and I don't think he's challenged enough, but he definitely has the opportunities, and I look at the options that he has in front of him and the services that are provided and the exploratory opportunities they have. That it's a great time to be a kid, right?
It sure is. It's right. I can never recall saying I hate school. I loved school. I couldn't wait to get back to school. I enjoyed my summers, but I couldn't wait to get back in school and see my friends again and just learn something new. It was always exciting for me. Right.
Well, so that experience growing up and as you've transitioned through your career, right now even you're in a very collaborative role, right? So you're leading several initiatives. What's your leadership style? Like, how do you get people everyone's got a busy day, they all have their, core focus on their day-to-day job, and then you often convene people on bigger initiatives. What's your style in which you use to do that?
Well, certainly I'm a collaborator. I'm a sell, not a tell. I would like to tell you about the values and the opportunities and the potential of this initiative, and hope that I'm convincing you to engage, participate, support, and if I could clearly present a value proposition that makes you participate or engage, I believe that's the most successful way. I don't want any hostages,
Right.
I have to go to that meeting. Don't come.
Right.
I'd rather the willing. If we get the folks who are willing and passionate about an issue and see the potential in a solution, that's where we're going to be most effective.
Absolutely. Well, and that's some of the work you're doing beyond Eastgate. So there are the Communities of Excellence initiatives. Can you just, I guess, without even getting specific, what are the things we need to change and embrace? Like, how can we better collaborate to that end to really drive our economy forward?
And I'll use this Communities of Excellence initiative as an example. But I give credit to our philanthropic organizations in our community who back in 2018 called many of the anchor institutions together and said, basically asked the question, do you folks ever talk to each other?
Right.
We are seeing one organization head east and another head west, and they're both working on good things, but they're going in opposite directions. What if we collaborated and all ran the same direction? And as we made the discovery that, we should be doing that, we discovered this Communities of Excellence Malcolm Baldridge initiative, and we embarked upon that in late 2019. And that's an initiative that basically encourages collaboration, communication, collaborative problem solving, and measurement. And you work together, you stay in your lane, you do what you do well, but all of the organizations are lockstep and know what one another are doing. And that's quite different from organizations working independently.
Right.
This doesn't in any way restrict you from other independent initiatives, but on some major projects you align and you work together. And I think you find that there are meaningful roles for each organization. The initiative which we've used as our pilot project is Broadband.
Right.
And certainly, as I mentioned earlier, Eastgate takes a lead role in defining where and how to find the funding to put the fiber in the ground. Once that fiber is in the ground, it's not as if we wash our hands, but now that tool is in the hands of educators and healthcare professionals and others who will make it come alive in the individual homes through curriculum and job certificates and certifications and online banking and scheduling appointments. There are other people who do that well, the university, the community college, our health providers. And so they'll pick up the ball at a certain point and turn that fiber into communication.
Right.
And then we'll step off and do something else. So it's that kind of initiative where you work together, give you an idea of the timing, have your runway line up with our runway so that it's seamless and we have continuous progress on initiatives.
Right. So it's effectively like plumbing, right? And then there's the last mile, getting it, and then there's like content. Okay, so then what do we actually
and then
deliver,
what do you do with the water once you have it? Well, obviously we know, we drink it, we wash, we cook with it.
Right.
But it's that when that broadband comes through, what do you do with it? It's not a matter of TikTok and Facebook that's going to elevate the community. It's educational sites, it's healthcare sites, it's self-improvement opportunities that are online, it's podcasts from the Business Journal.
Right.
Those are the kind of things that are going to lift up our community. And so we've got to have an awareness campaign. This is how you use the internet for your own personal benefit and for your family's benefit and so forth. So, so those are roles for other people in the community to do, but we can do it together.
Right, very collaborative.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I'm sure we've, like anything in, leadership discussions, we talk about mistakes because they're helpful to discuss as well, so we can all share and learn from others. But before we do that, we're going to take a break to thank our sponsors.
Certainly.
The Brain Gain is a collaborative effort, and we'd like to thank our headlining sponsors, including Farmers National Bank, Sweeney Chevrolet Buick GMC, the Mahoning Valley Manufacturers Coalition, and Southwoods Health. Also included are Eastern Gateway Community College, PNC Bank, the Moransky Companies, the Mahoning County Career and Technical Center, the Youngstown Business Incubator, Simon Roofing, the DeBartolo Corporation, Youngstown State University, and Junior Achievement of the Mahoning Valley.
All right, so Mike, and in your time of leading all these initiatives, I'm sure you've probably made some mistakes, not intentional, right? But is there anything in particular you want to share just that might be helpful to the audience?
Well, I've made a number of mistakes, obviously. I've been in the workforce for 45 years almost, and between my time at Delphi Packard Electric and Youngstown State University and now Eastgate, I would probably say a mistake I can recall for you is not addressing an issue early on, allowing something to fester, whether it be miscommunication or bad direction. And I think you've learned that it's maybe an unpleasant conversation, but you have to nip it in the bud, and you have to have that conversation early on. Set clear expectations, and if you do that, people will know what is expected, and they're compliant, they're cooperative, they're collaborative. If they don't know and you don't tell them, you're going to be going in different directions from deliverables and so forth. So my advice to myself is to address the issue early on.
Right. A few minutes of pain, perhaps,
Yes.
is better than months. Could be some things, like you said, fester. Months of kind of discomfort,
Right.
mild, misunderstanding.
And no one enjoys those conversations.
Right.
It's not something you look forward to, but a cut is better than
Right.
a thousand tiny snips.
Absolutely. Well, and so you said I heard the word accountability, and then you mentioned measurement before, and I think that's that's interesting. Could you share a little bit about measurement methodologies and accountability? Because with these larger initiatives, it's often hard to tell if we're making progress and successful.
Well,
right?
That's it. And I think that, whether it be the communities of excellence or other things, in a business, how you're doing. The bottom line, you're either making money or you're not. Mm-hmm. And you have a clear indicator of how you're doing. In a lot of these economic development initiatives and activities, you work very hard and you go home tired. And you stay late and you come in early, but are you moving the needle? And what is that needle? Is it elimination of poverty? Is it improvement of health? Is it number of houses with broadband? There's got to be a number that we keep score. We keep score. And by keeping score, by having a meaningful metric, we know whether all this hard work is fruitful or not. And if it's not fruitful, retrench, back up, and try something different. But if it's not working, abandon that tactic and choose another tactic. But keep your goal in mind, your metric, your measurement. We grew up with test scores and
right.
metrics and ACT scores and so forth. And then in the professional world, sometimes there is a bottom line, but individually we don't see that same type of measurement. And I think we could be most effective if we measure our results, either individually or collectively as a community, as a region.
And it really helps to with these some of the initiatives you're working on will impact us for decades to come, right?
That's right. That's right. So. And they're slow progress sometimes.
Right.
We are turning around a big ship here,
right.
In terms of economic development, and this is not 5 years in the making. This is since the 1970s, mm-hmm. and so it's 50 years in the making. We hope that the turnaround is much faster, and we're trying to do that. But there's a lot of work here, and
right.
and we have to commit to ongoing hard work in order to make a difference.
Do you see the momentum coming back? Because obviously 2020 was 2020.
in the years preceding that, the 5 years preceding that, it was apparent to me. It's visible. You could see it in the city, in the amphitheater, and the construction, and now Fifth Avenue, and soon Federal Street, and Commerce, and Phelps. You saw that happening, and there's momentum in Youngstown, and certainly Warren, Courthouse Square, and all the development that's happening there. The theater renovation, and it's been phenomenal. And then when 2020 hit, so many things stopped, and we're just now starting to get our traction again. Hopefully we can regain that 2019 momentum again, because I thought we were moving in a great direction then.
Agreed. Do you have any, say if you step back and look at everything all of the projects that are going on, any big hurdles in your way, any challenges that you face, or even, perhaps a challenge you want to raise to the audience while they're here and listening, how they can help?
I think that for some of the initiatives that we're working on relative to infrastructure, it's exciting to hear about infrastructure funding. And so we at Eastgate are now preparing ourselves to be well positioned that when that funding is available, we've got shovel-ready projects. We've got our broadband study complete. We know we have 10 recommendations from our consultant as to how to improve coverage in our region. So when you have that plan in place, that strategy in place, you can be very opportunistic, and you could be first in line when the funding becomes available. So I think we're at a wonderful position in terms of infrastructure. I'm very impressed with the Eastgate team. They're always one step ahead. I mean, that's Jim Kinnick's nature. He uses the word, let's chase this, let's chase that project. And it's a favorite phrase of his, and he's just been very aggressive, and you can see that. You can drive on those roads, you can see that river flowing freely. Soon you're going to be able to see an opportunity for a broadband improvement. Hopefully we'll be able to execute that well, but it's a can-do type of mentality, and you have to be prepared for it.
Right. And there are initiatives, and I know Lordstown's a lot in the news, but as far as like building out the infrastructure there, is that also? Well,
very much so. Last year we submitted a build grant, it was called at the time, an infrastructure grant, to create an advanced transportation hub in Lordstown, North Jackson, and that could be all kinds of things, from data signals to the truck drivers, some autonomous vehicles. It could be in-road charging of electric vehicles. It's a lot of technologies. We weren't successful for that, so we're backing down this year. We're getting some foundational elements. This year it's been rebranded as a RAISE grant instead of a build grant. It used to be called a Tiger grant. So every administration rebrands this project. But the RAISE grant is all about restructuring America's infrastructure for sustainability and equity. So some of the parameters and evaluation criteria are changing, but it still fits very well in what we're trying to do there. And regardless of any one company, there is significant critical mass of economic development in that area. And in order to optimize that and continue that trend, we feel we need to enhance the infrastructure out there. So we're very focused on that part of the world. The jobs may be there, but those folks are going to live throughout the Mahoning Valley, and they're going to shop in any number of communities. So what's good for the Lordstown area is good for everyone in the Mahoning Valley.
Absolutely, agreed. I guess to close out, any leadership quotes or any favorite things you want to share, books you've read, quotes that you refer to on a consistent basis?
Recently I've begun to say, and as someone said, that I don't work, I'm not working for a living, I'm working to make a difference. At this stage in my career, having worked several years, I'm in a situation where I have some freedom because I'm part-time with Eastgate, but it's all about making a difference, leaving a legacy, leaving the city, leaving the region in better place than I found it. So I'm working to make a difference at this stage.
Fantastic. Well, Mike, that's a great place to wrap up. Appreciate your time and filling us in on all the great initiatives happening, and thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Absolutely. It's been my pleasure. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks for joining us on the podcast today, because together we're building a culture of entrepreneurship and promoting workforce development. So if you like what you heard, please share it with a friend and leave us a rating or review on your favorite podcast player. Your feedback is very important to us. We want to make the show better all the time. And if you would like to give me direct feedback, email me, please. My email is jherrmann@business-journal.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn. And lastly, would love to thank the members of the Brain Gain Coalition. Those headline collaborators include Farmers National Bank, Sweeney Chevrolet Buick GMC, the Mahoning Valley Manufacturers Coalition, and Southwoods Health. And joining them are members of the coalition, including Eastern Gateway Community College, PNC Bank, the Moransky Companies, MCCTC, the Mahoning County Career and Technical Center, the Youngstown Business Incubator, Simon Roofing, the DeBartolo Corporation, Youngstown State University, and Junior Achievement of Mahoning Valley. Without them, none of this would be possible. So thanks again for joining us today, and remember, together we are building a culture of entrepreneurship and promoting workforce development.
Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that little bell for notifications. And also make sure to connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. For all of your business news, visit businessjournaldaily.com. For all of your arts and entertainment news, go to afterhoursyoungstown.com.